Welcome to Men and Women Talk, the Mars Venus Show, with your host, Kinte and Shannon. This program hosts a weekly panel of men and women who discuss topics such as dating, the workplace, family, spirituality, cheating, and of course, sex. Monday nights at 6 p.m. This program hosts a weekly panel of men and women who discuss is simulcasted live. Dating, the workplace, family, spirituality, indie radio, all and YouTube, which allows women all over the world to gather together to talk with challenging
Hello and welcome to Men and Women Talk, the Mars Venus Show. I am your host, Kinte, all the way live from Los Angeles, California. And I'm so happy to be here with you on this Monday, the last Monday of February, Black History Month, the month of love as well. And I am looking forward to this topic, even though it's not necessarily about love. It's about past love and possibly future love as well. But before I get into the topic, I just want to let people know that if you are watching us live on the YouTube channel, please let us know that you are here. We have a chat on the side where it says say something, and we will relay your questions to our huge ass panel. We definitely don't have a shortage of voices today, but hey, why not? There's nothing wrong with the party. So the person who organized this party, who this whole month has basically been the Shannon month. We're gonna kick it over to her. Well, first of all, how have you been, Shannon?
I am good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm doing very well. How was your weekend?
It was good. I can't complain.
Okay. All right. Now this has been the month of Shannon. We've done some wonderful shows this month, and we're going to close out February with this one, which is an interesting way to close it out. What's the name? Tell everybody what we're going to be talking about tonight.
The topic is life after divorce. And I picked this, and I was mentioning this to Tracy, who's on the panel. This is one of those topics that I feel like everyone should hear about, especially for those that are either interested in marriage or interested in things that you do or steps to avoid. I remember my pastor saying that if you're serious about marriage, sit around two groups of people, those that have been divorced and those that have been married for a really good long time. So I'm here at the feet of all of these wonderful people. Learned so much about life after divorce.
All right. So I'm very interested in hearing everybody's thoughts. I believe the only two people that haven't been married on this show is myself and Shannon, right?
Yet.
So we're going to be learning. We're going to be taking notes. We're going to be, hearing stories about people's past and their present and their future, hopefully. So, what we'll do is how about you introduce the ladies on the panel and I'll introduce the fellas.
Okay, I can do that. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's start with who I've known the least longest and have grown to love and adore. She is a co-host of the Elephant Room TV, none other than my Canadian boo, LA. How are you, love?
How are you, sweetie?
Good. It's good having me. Wait. I feel like we see each other like twice a week at least.
I know. More than some family members. It's all good.
Yes. I love it. Hey, sister.
She's Canadian and Grenadian.
That's right.
She is. Yes, she is. So, and then next, who I've known the second least longest, none other than New Yorker turned Southern Belle, dancing extraordinaire, always taking a selfie, Narcisa. Hi. How are you, girl?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Good. It's good to see you. I saw you, you got a lot of stuff going on Facebook right now. You got the Leading Ladies, You got the photos. You got a contest that you in. Like you are doing big things now.
I'm
we'll
doing
get
a lot.
We'll get to that later. That's a good thing. Okay,
Yeah.
and so we have after those two ladies. This one actually needs no introduction to my heart. We've known each other for quite some time. We have gone from Omaha, Nebraska to other states or other cities within Florida. She's up in the central Florida, whereas I'm at the bottom of Florida. I've known her forever. Mentor, friend, boo, none other than Tracy J, my boo. How are you, lady?
I am absolutely wonderful. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for asking. And once we get Audrey on here, I'll just go ahead and break her intro in, and then she can talk about herself when she get here. When Audrey gets here, Audrey also is from Omaha, now lives in Georgia. I've known her since forever, but she'll be joining the conversation shortly. It's your turn, Kente.
Thank you. Thank you for the setup. All right, let's introduce the fellas. I'm going to start off with the person who's been on the show. Well, actually, we two guys are tied for haven't been on the show the longest. We'll start off with Finn. How you doing, Finn?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Kente?
I'm great. How you been, man?
I've been all right, man. Just working a lot, man. As you said earlier, I got to work tonight. But yeah, just working, man. That's basically my life right now.
You work such a stressful job. How do you unwind, man?
I do a lot of drinking. No, I don't know, man. I just try to find fun where I can, man. Enjoy my kids, movies, stuff like that. Anything I can do socially. I try to get out when I can.
Well, thank you for being here, man.
Appreciate it. Pleasure to be here.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. This next guy, he's been not only is he's been on this show for a long time, but since the very first episode, he's also a veteran of indie radio. He is known as Santa Claus and Captain Olaf Barbosa. How you doing, Captain?
I am doing fantastic. Been another great day in the great state of Indiana. Started out this morning, it was 20 degrees, and then by noon it was about 50, I think. So another lovely day in Indiana. It's been a good time. It's like now, the other way that Finn, de-stresses and, from his job is he comes on Mars Venus show.
That's a good point. That's also a good point.
He comes in and hangs out with us.
Also joining the show, this guy, he is he's been on the show. I think this is maybe his third or possibly his fourth time. Filmmaker, he can sing as well. His brother got a lot of tools in the toolbox. Is Anthony? What's up, Anthony?
Peace. What's happening?
And I think this is the first time you've actually been able to be like at home with your mic set up and everything, right?
Second time, actually.
He was on this alternative sex lifestyles conversation.
Yeah. Oh, he was sitting down for that one.
I remember that one. I was there for that one as well.
Yeah, I was sitting down and in place for that one. This is my second time.
We had our notepads out.
Oh, that's I definitely learned some stuff on that show.
Hey man, we'll break them out one more time because I got a story to tell.
All right, man.
All right.
And this next guy, he's a great father, great dude, a podcaster, and teacher as well. He's a New Yorker, so I won't hold that against him. We have Andre Harrison. What's up,
guys?
Dre?
This is my 17-year-old. His birthday's today.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
That's Nathaniel.
And it's his favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, that is yours.
Love you guys. All right, but you see what time it is, right? It's bedtime.
Bedtime. It's
What's going on, everybody? Andre. You guys can call me Dre. Teacher. Father first. And hopefully I can add some insight and learn something new tonight.
All right, from Brooklyn. This next guy, he's from the birthplace of hip hop, the Bronx. By way of Antigua. He's a good friend of mine. He's in my living room right now. He's a tennis pro and a art collector. It is one and only Lamb. How you doing, Lamb?
Well, I'm doing incredibly well.
Hey, Lamb.
Hey.
Hola,
Right.
hola.
Hola.
All right, we have a real Caribbean flavor tonight.
Hi.
Yeah, the Caribbean is represented, and as well as New York. But
New York is in the house.
Yeah.
Nebraska's in the house.
New York,
Nebraska. Who throws up Nebraska?
Don't start, Kinte. We had this conversation like 6 days ago.
I never heard nobody say Nebraska.
Look, most millionaires per capita.
I love that, man. All right, so this is. I'll throw the mic back to you.
To me?
Yes, you.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, so we're going to start this off right. First question, and we'll go with the ladies, and then we'll move over to the men. How long were you married, and how long have you been divorced? And we'll start with Tracy, and then, because I'm going by who I can see and go down. So Tracy, and then we'll move over to LA.
I was married 31 years, and I am 6 years post-divorce.
Okay. LA.
Goodness. I was with my ex for 16 years, and I've been single since 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
Narcissa.
I was married for 7 years, and I've been separated for like 2 years, officially divorced for like months. I don't know. I ain't counting. It's over.
Oh, wow.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Olaf. And you have a unique situation, so you can go both if you like.
Uh-oh, somebody's underwater.
Was that me?
Yeah. How long have you been divorced, and how long have you?
Well, okay. Well, the first time I was married for 9 months.
Well,
That
I'm
was it.
so sorry. Somebody, there's some strange background noise in their audio.
Is it me or not? Okay.
It was Anthony. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the first time I was married 9 months, and then the second time I got married, I was married
after the baby was born.
Hey, that first marriage, I call that my pregnancy marriage because it lasted. That was 9 months from getting married to waiting, the 2 months to get divorced, and that was 9 months start to finish. That was my pregnancy marriage. No kids out of that one. And then the second time, I was married. Let's see, what was it? 12 years, 13 years, and been divorced 14 years now. So from the second one, it was 25 years altogether that we were together. So it was like 12 together and 13 or 14 apart. I don't know.
Okay. Sir. So we'll move right on down, and that would be next. You, Lamb.
I was married the first time for 2 years, and the second time for 6, and it's been 8 years since divorce.
Okay.
I didn't even know I had a divorce. I found out when I went on the internet and I saw some of my personal possessions being sold online. That's how I knew the divorce was finalized.
Wow.
We might need to come back and revisit that as well.
I think so.
That's even worse than getting a text.
Okay, Finn.
I was married for 15 years. I've been divorced for almost 6.
Okay. Anthony.
Unmute Anthony. Yeah, you're muted, Anthony.
All right, am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. What was the question? No, I was married for 4 years. I guess we were together a total of 6, and I've been divorced now 2, maybe 3 years.
All right. Thank you, sir. And last but not least, Andre.
So before the separation, I was married 10 years. And in total, legally, married 12. And I've been living post-divorce now for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much. And Kente, how long have we been divorced?
7 years. I'm sorry, 7 years.
No, we still have a baby together at Mars Venus.
You still in the honeymoon stage. What are you talking about?
Okay. So let's go back to what you were saying, Narcisa.
I had a feeling you were coming to me.
Of course I was. Enlighten us about what you were talking about when you disclosed your information.
Oh, I said who's counting, but no, I feel like for me, I've just been like, all right, it's behind me. I'm moving forward. You know, that's just kind of been my mindset. I feel like August, I think we really got our papers signed, August 2018. I don't know, it's in a drawer somewhere, but yeah, I'm like,
don't throw it out.
Did you throw a party? You seem like you threw a party when you got a divorce. Is that what happened?
No, you know, I did not. What happened when I feel like something exciting was happening when I really had those papers. I don't know, something was going on.
What?
Yeah, something really exciting was happening that weekend. And I was like, man, it's the same weekend. I don't know. You know, I have a lot of eventful things, but we were separated since 2016. Yeah. And then I officially got my papers like this past August. So yeah.
2 years.
I'm going to have a question for you a little bit later, but I'll let everybody else go.
Now let's move over to Lamb. I need you to unpack this because I got some questions.
Yeah, that was interesting.
You like threw me off my whole list of ideas when you said what you said. So you found this your second divorce at this point.
Right.
So you found you were divorced by, break that story down.
Okay, so the divorce process started around 2011, and there was a lot of going back and forth to court. And along that time, I was frustrated. I decided I was becoming something that I never wanted to be, which is bitter, angry. So I was coming home from, where was I coming home from? I was coming home from teaching, and I heard a Bobby Brown song called Every Little Step I Take, You'll Be There. And all of a sudden I started bawling in the car and didn't know why, because I mean, that song can't be more innocuous. But all of a sudden here I was, and I couldn't stop. And it continued till I went upstairs, took a shower, and then I was bawling louder in the shower. And I realized that the relationship was done. It was over. And it didn't matter how unreasonable I thought her demands were. I made up my mind at that moment that I was going to go to court and say that she could have everything.
Mistake.
Everything. And then I woke up the next morning and I thought, man, are you stupid? How are you going to give up everything? You can't be that stupid. Right? It did. It wore off. And I knew that the next court date was in about another 2-3 weeks or something like that. So I was hoping that I'd get my manhood back and go into court and say exactly what I thought I wanted to say. Anyway, that time came. I went to court, and I'll never forget it. They do the same thing all the time. They tell you to go down for mediation. Same crap all the time. Her lawyer, my lawyer, and we're in this cafeteria or this room or whatever. And I looked at all of them, and I said, I'm out. I'm done. I'm finished. My lawyer looked at me like I was a nut, and he said, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't just leave like that. And I said, well, watch me. And I said, she can have everything. She can have the houses. She can have the properties. She can have the anything that she wants. It doesn't matter. I'm out. And that was it. And for the next 2 years, I never heard from my lawyer. I never heard from the courts. I never heard from her. They all had my information, and no one communicated with me. And like I said, 2 years. And then I decided to go online because I love art and antiques. And I was on eBay, I think it was. And someone was selling something that used to be mine. Now, part of the divorce decree is that once you're divorced, they tell you, you know, your personal possessions are yours and you're allowed to take it. Well, I found out later that my personal possessions had to be taken out of the house within 30 days of the decision. Well, I found out 2 years later. So everything that belonged to me that was mine prior to marriage reverted to her, and she was free to do whatever she wanted to, and she sold it. Something that I had a clock that was about 125 years old. It was about a Chinese clock, and I paid lots and lots of money for it and time. And I saw it. It sold at some auction for some pittance, like $3,000 or something like that. And that's how I found out that I was divorced. So wait, and then I decided to Google my address where we lived, and when I Googled the address, there was the house was empty, but there was one room that was shown in the photographs for selling. The house was up for sale, actually, and there was a room with a crib in it.
Wow.
And the reason why we divorced is because she wanted to have kids. And I said I never wanted to have kids when we first met each other. So we were together for 9 years, married 6 years. But I think that there was some other motivation behind it, because when we first got together, she got pregnant. And again, I've never wanted to have kids. And I said to her at that moment, I am willing to do whatever you desire to do. So I'm not going to be leaving. Kids is not something that I've ever bargained for, but whatever decision you decide to make, let's do this. Now, I guess the backstory is that we're 15, almost 16 years difference in age. So when we met, she was 20, I was 35. Okay. So I thought it was necessary for me to tell her that. She decided she didn't want to have kids. It was too early for her. And so I thought that that would continue throughout the rest of the marriage, because she already knew that I didn't want to have kids. And then maybe in 2010, she came from a family of 10 siblings. And all of a sudden they was knocking out babies and getting married. And she was telling me she was having dreams of babies and all kinds of things. And wanted to know if I would reconsider. And I said I would be willing to reconsider. And finally I agreed. I said yes. And then there was a pivotal point after saying yes, maybe 2 months later. She asked me if I was ecstatic about having kids in the next 2 years. And you know, that's the question. You better come up with the right answer, right? But I can only tell the truth. I've always been, and that's why we were together in the first place, because I'm about the truth and transparency. And so I said, actually, I do have some trepidation about the future. And, but I know that as we get closer to the appointed time, it's going to be all good. I'd be an incredible father. You know, I teach for a living. So, it's just part of my genetics. I love people. I love.
If you were that sad and cried when Every Little Step came on, just think if End of the Road came on, you might have killed yourself.
Kente, you're just a genius.
And I'm gonna interject real quick, because Audrey had mentioned in the chat that she didn't mention this part. She was married for 7 years and she is 11 days free.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So we are full in our little chat capacity here. but I'll take her comments as they come in, because I think she has a lot to add to this conversation as well.
Oh my goodness.
So you were going to finish, I think, Liam, or were you done? I'm sorry.
I was close to finishing, and so I realized when I was saying what I was saying to her about looking forward to, you know, the time getting closer for kids. I think I'll be cool with it. And I heard myself saying it, and the teacher in me came out, and I asked her if she would allow me to talk to her, not as a husband, but as a friend, just like I would be talking to my any good friend of mine. And I said, you know what? I just heard what I just said, and it didn't even sound right. Not to someone that's as excited as you are. I said, if you think about Christmas and that buildup that you used to have as a child when Christmas was coming and you wanted to know what was in the box, what was in that gift box, or what was underneath the tree, and I'd be shaking the boxes, trying to figure out if it was making a certain type of noise or whatever, just to, you know, I was just excited. And so I figured that that's the kind of excitement that she had, but I wasn't in the same state.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
And I'm not putting on my marriage counselor's hat.
Hold on a second. Wait a minute. First, you can't qualify anything. Just say whatever you want to say.
Okay. So when at 35 years old, when you were dating her, you never considered that she may want children because you met her so young? That was never a consideration of yours.
I'll tell you why. No. It wasn't a consideration because I clearly defined what I was looking for in a relationship, and so, but you know, when we connected, it was just a sex thing the first couple of months, and then after that, I didn't see her for the next 2 years. Okay. And then she came back into the picture and asked me if I was on the open market. And if I was, she wanted to take me off the market. And so that was it. We got married maybe 2.5 years after she got back. And I didn't think it was a question that needed to be revisited. But as I told you, she got pregnant around that time and decided that she did not want to have children at that time, and said that she doesn't know if she'll feel that way forever, but that's how she feels now. So I honored that. I can't try to figure somebody out, and I've never been in a situation. Well, that's not true. My first girlfriend in college, she wanted kids right away, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna have kids at 19. 24 came around and we broke up because of the whole kid thing again. So here I was now experiencing it, and bottom line is, I told her she needs to be with someone that was going to be just as excited as she was about this future event, like taking a cruise. I'm not trying to, you don't want to enjoy the destination or think about the destination. You want to be able to enjoy the trip as you go along, and she couldn't enjoy that trip with me. And so my suggestion was that we would just move on, because she clearly wants to have kids. She knew that, and she agreed, and it was the greatest breakup ever. We still slept in the same bed until there was a transition, one of us leaving the home, and then it was determined that I was going to leave the home. And I think the drama came about when initially I decided to walk away with nothing, and then I decided that I wanted something, and that's when the drama started.
Well,
and the lawyers came into play.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we're gonna make sure we get to everybody, but I forgot what the original question was. That was pretty long-winded, Lamb. So, what was the original question? Shannon, what was the original question?
You sent me to Facebook. No, I was just asking him about his story.
Oh, that's right. You did ask him his story, so he did.
Yeah, I was going to move over to Finn because I know Finn is here and he's on a time constraint. So we can move down to Finn.
Hello.
Finn, are you here? Yes.
I'm here. What's going on?
I just want to hear you talk for a few minutes, sir.
Cut it out. What's your question?
My question for you, sir, is what was the straw for you that made divorce a reality?
For me, it was I just was tired of being there for everybody but myself. I knew 5 years in that I wasn't happy, and we separated for about a year. And then because of the kids and my family, oh, you guys got to make it work. I went back, and 10 years later, I still wasn't happy. And I decided, I got to live for me. The kids will be fine one way or the other, but but I'm making definitely two people miserable, because she definitely wasn't as happy either. So that was ultimately it for me. I just decided, hey, I gotta, I'm not doing anybody justice by forcing it.
Can I ask the panel a question?
Of course you
can. Okay, you guys. So when you guys got a divorce, like, how long were you unhappy before you got the divorce? Let's start with LA. We'll start with LA, and then we'll, how long?
Start with me.
Well, I want to,
Canada. That's why.
I was unhappy when I got pregnant right before my wedding day. Like 3.5 months before my wedding day, I got pregnant after being with him for 9 years and never getting pregnant. So
is that why you guys got married?
No, we were engaged already. We were engaged. We got engaged after 7 years of being together, and then I waited for 2 more years. And just prior to our wedding day, I got pregnant during makeup sex, because I think he was fooling around in his bachelor party.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's when the sadness started. I'm not sad about it anymore, but it was really hard to try and live with someone that makes you unhappy, or that you feel unhappy as a result of being with that person, because you feel invisible. You feel like they're not prioritizing your feelings in any way. And you feel a distance even though you're living with that person. And you're trying to figure out, when should I go? When should I stay? Should I stay? Look at all the things that we've done together. Look at the kids. Like, there's all of these different reasons that you try to convince yourself why you should stay in the situation. And then ultimately, we live in a world where we talk about our happiness more than anything, our personal happiness. And we can sometimes, substitute a community for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, it just got to the point where, when you talk about the straw, Shannon, the straw that broke the back for me was when we were trying counseling, and I felt like he just didn't understand what I was trying to get at. And he responded by saying, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's not my fucking problem.
Hey.
So I think at that stage, it was kind of like, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
There's no point in going further.
That's real. Well, welcome, Audrey. I know we got Audrey in here now. And
hey, hello, everyone. How are you?
Fine. Do you have your camera off on purpose?
For me?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I did. But hey.
In other words, she gonna keep her camera off. Mind your business.
Mind your business and your manners.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, wow.
Yes, in 2019.
Hi,
Okay.
Tracy.
Well, I know Narcissa also has a time constraint. So Narcissa, tell us, and I know you had talked about kind of your marriage in a short bit when we were on the Single and Looking And so unpack what was a straw for you and how you arrived to, I'm over it, I'm glad it's done.
So for me, I think it was, honestly, I was not the one that wanted to end the marriage. My husband wanted to end our marriage. And so it wasn't until after we separated that I realized that I was like, Cecil, you weren't happy. Like, you know, sometimes we think we're at this place where we're happy and, you know, we're just doing life, you know, and it's not until you come out of a situation that you can actually look back and say, I really wasn't my happiest. I really wasn't my healthiest. I really wasn't whole in that situation. Mm-hmm. And so for me, there were times in the relationship where I felt like, I always use this scenario, this picture. It's like I was going to work and I was putting in overtime because they weren't doing their part. So for me, I know throughout our relationship, I was the one that was kind of just emotionally pouring into the relationship because essentially, you know, and to this day, if they heard this, they would say these are the very words that they use. They can't give me what they don't have. So he couldn't give me love that he didn't have for me. So of course I was putting in more. And so not until after we separated, and then I just was like, wow, like, yo, look at you. Like, your life has just totally changed. You have come into the full essence of who you were. And I didn't think I realized that because, like, my close friends who were there was like, Cecil, you've always been this bright, bubbly person. Now, you are that person, but you're kind of like just toned down and changed. You're just not like your vibrant self. And so I didn't really get that as they were telling it to me when I was married. But now that I'm out of it, it's like, wow, yo, I see. Okay, God, I see you did that. So, you know, for me, accepting that the fact that he didn't want the marriage was really, really hard. Like, I just like, God, that's not what I signed up for. Together forever. Like, okay, death do us part. We're not dead. What are we doing? Like, let's work, you know, but you have to be with someone who's willing to work. You know, you can't do it alone, and it takes a unified front. So,
yeah. The saying is, you can't be in a ring by yourself and call it a fight.
Oh, you cannot. And especially, I think, like, when someone's pushing you out, but you're like still holding on, it's like you're worth, you know, I realize now looking back, like, I was worth so much more than to be trying to hold on to someone who didn't want me, who's doing things, making, you know, choices that obviously aren't choices that shows a unified front or shows someone who wants to work towards a healthy relationship. So, but here she is, post-divorce, living my best life. And that's what I was going to say too. When I thought about the topic and everything, people think about being divorced like, oh my God, it's like this dreadful thing. And like, I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning, it was hard. I had to go through these different phases, but it's like, I could not be in the most creative place that I'm in now if I wasn't,
yes.
I wouldn't be able to be in my most creative place that I'm in now if I was still married. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah. So
well, you definitely got big things on the horizon, ma'am. So blessings to you.
Yes, I'm excited. But I'll definitely hop back on if you guys are still on. I'll jump in.
On. It's a party.
Now, we have a whole bunch of people on this show, so I know. Let me see. It's 9:30. Y'all gonna be here till like 11 o'clock. Okay.
Pretty much. Look, pretty much.
Okay. Of course, love you all. Hey, you know what? Shout out to this live because I see I knew Andre. I was like, yo, I didn't even like, yo, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all are crazy. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so I want to piggyback off of something Narcissa said, and actually LA said it as well, and then we'll catch the rest of you that haven't spoken about your straw that broke the camel's back. And actually, I would rather say what I'm going to say, but Tracy is the one that's going to elaborate. Narcissa is the one that mentioned happiness. And Tracy and I have had this conversation about happiness in a marriage. Tracy, do you remember this conversation?
I remember this conversation.
Will you enlighten us?
We had the conversation about being happy in a relationship, and Shannon made it clear to me that God did not call us to happiness. He called us to holiness. And that means sometimes that you're not going to be happy in the relationship, because happiness is based on happenings, and everything's not going to always be happening your way, but you can still be holy and maintain that relationship and do what you have to do in the relationship in spite of being happy.
Now that was in relationship to her understanding something about herself. Me and Tracy are friends. And I always give my disclaimer, and Audrey can vouch for this as well, because Audrey and I are friends. I always say, although I'm not married, here is my tidbit. You can take it or leave it. But what we did, and I further expounded on that and said, even though happiness is not something that someone else can give you, you can still find joy in that time of frustration or confusion, because you're working on you in the process. It's not always going to be about that other person. Yes, the two become one, but if they're not willing to be compliant with the marriage, you still have to work on your sanity. You still have to work on your wholeness. You still have to work on your functioning, especially if you have children, because you have to function for someone other than yourself. So there's the context in that. Tracy.
Yes.
I think you are our longest panel member that has been married the longest. So if you would like to share what was the straw for you, how that unfolded in your marriage, bless us with your story, or tidbits of it.
Okay, well, I too, like Narcissa, didn't want the divorce, but the straw that broke the camel's back was I found out that my ex-husband was had a 3-year affair with our best friend.
Ooh. We
were couples. We traveled together. My children called them auntie and uncle. They called us auntie and uncle. And I found out that I knew something was going on, but when I heard the extent of it, it had been going on for 3 years. Even with that going on, I actually left him, but he divorced me. And I had, like, the young gentleman before, I can't remember your name, but
Sheep.
What is it?
Sheep.
But I received divorce papers in the mail. I was married 31 years.
Damn.
I left him November 3rd. I received divorce. I was served divorce papers at my sister's house November 4th of the same year, and was divorced by May. So a 31-year marriage ended in less than 6 months.
Oh, and say what your ex-husband's job was.
My ex-husband's job is he is a senior pastor, still is a senior pastor. And
I went to that church.
And like Narcissa said, I didn't when I left, I had no intention on being gone. I was sick for 3 years. I knew the affair had gone on, but I stayed because my blind faith, and not realizing that this
it's like Greenleaf. It's like Greenleaf.
Ain't nobody doing this with you.
Greenleaf, for real though.
But not realizing in my mind, in my heart, I knew it was over, but in my mind, I just couldn't let go of the fact that this was it. I met this guy when I was 14. This is the only man I've ever dated. Only man I've ever spent my entire life with. And to think that I was walking out of my life, even when I left, I could not accept that. I had dropped 116 pounds and left less than 18 months. I was on all types of medication because I was just dying in this relationship. And I didn't realize that until I left. And then when I left November 3rd, he served me court-ordered, signed divorce papers on November 4th. And I had 5 months to prepare to go to court. And so in all of that, I went in, the judge asked me I told him I still didn't want the divorce. And the judge was like, well, Mrs. Adams, I can't leave you in a marriage where somebody doesn't want you. I wouldn't do that to you. But what do you want? And I said, I don't want anything. I just want whatever you're going to give me. And so I walked out of there. I left the house. I left the clothes. All I had was
the pulpit and everything.
My 2 dogs. And that was it. And I left. And I walked out of the courtroom with 10 years alimony and 2 retirement accounts. So, but
look at God.
But I mean,
I do it.
It was the
Only
best
will.
thing. I didn't see it at the time, but now 6 years later, it was the best thing that ever could have happened to me because I had morphed into someone who God didn't make me to be. I had morphed into what that man had formed me to
Yeah.
be. My children, I raised you and your
Are
mom.
they still together?
Oh, they're engaged.
So you was willing to stay with him. That's what they want to know from the audience.
Who said what? I was willing to stay with them?
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, at the time.
At the time, oh yes. At the time, I was willing to stay with him because I had invested 31 years in this marriage.
Right.
My children were grown. This was supposed to be our golden years. You know, my children were in college. So I'm thinking, you know, this is a phase, midlife crisis he's going through. But I think the straw that broke the camel's back was that this had gone on before. Okay, but it was never where it was public. He was going out in public with her. He was taking trips with her. And I think the straw for me was that the humiliation. You had a relationship. You had, at least in the others, you know, he kept me protected from that. I found out later or whatever. This was wide open. Everybody knew in the city. It was a huge scandal, everything. And so when I got the divorce papers and I called him and I said, you know, you're going to send me divorce papers and not even tell me? He told me, I don't owe you nothing. He said, if you come back, I'll take the divorce off the table. And I said, well, what am I coming back to? He said, I'm not the problem. So I said, okay, go ahead with your divorce. But he wanted me to come back to save face because now we had a huge church. They were wondering, well, where she's at? What's going on? They knew what was going on with him. And he wanted me to come back to save face. But it was the best thing that could have happened. I am so happy. I am so free. I went to my daughter's show. My daughter sings with the band. And Saturday night, I went to her show and I was dancing in the parking lot. And when I got in the car, I just said, Lord, I thank you. Because there was a time I could not do that. I could not dance. I could not go anywhere. I could not. This man picked up my clothes. This man name was on everything. My house, my car, my bank accounts, nothing of my own. And just to be able to dance in a parking lot and people say, oh my goodness, she pumped, she hyped, whatever. And I'm just dancing in the parking lot with no care in the world. And I got in the car and it hit me, Lord, I'm free. You know,
free to dance, free to lift your hands.
Oh, wow.
And that is one of the reasons why, thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing that. That is one of the reasons why I had Tracy on here. And I don't know if any of our audience members saw our 24-hour podcast. Tracy was also on one of those and talked about living beneath his shadow, which is her blog, her upcoming book. She does a Friday Chronicles in the afternoon on Facebook. So she shares
radio broadcast.
Yeah, I know what topic he doesn't preach about.
He might preach about it. I mean, some people
if he do, everybody in the congregation should be like, you lie.
Wow. People are conflicted. I mean, the congregation is still there.
What did John Gray say? That was the devil. It wasn't him.
Listen. But I was saying that to say that you're a blessing to so many people.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
There are many people on Facebook, and I remember having a conversation with you because we've been back and forth visiting with one another since she moved to Florida, and then I followed subsequently to another city. And I remember asking the question, who is Tracy J?
You did.
And challenging her to step outside of the covering of first lady, covering of wife, covering of daughter, covering of mother, all these hats that we wear so well, and sometimes not so well, and find out who the heart of she is, what makes her think, what makes her tick, what makes her happy, what makes her sad, you know, what she enjoys doing. And since you've moved to Florida, I mean, you've done stepping all over the country, out of the country.
Yeah, girl.
You know, doing amazing things on your job. You know, you're in your own place, have your own car. You work with the radio station and have your own show on that. So you have grown and developed an identity, not just under the tutelage of God the Father, but just giving yourself the room to breathe in your own right. Not attached to all those other things.
And I have to commend you because you've walked this journey with me. Because first of all, you were one of my armor bearers at the church. And you walked this journey with me from the time I left till I got here. And I always say that you challenge me. You always come around at the right time and challenge me to do what I need to do. Because I have to be transparent. There are times when it's not a happy day. You know, it's not a good day. And you have to say, okay, how am I going to make it through this day or through this moment? And some of the tools that you've given me have helped me to get through those moments. Now they still come, but they don't come as often and they don't stay as long. But you've helped me, given me tools to be able to get through that. And I'm in a good place. You know, I'm in a good place, and I'm growing, learning, and I'm still evolving into who I'm going to be at 55 years old. So
and that's why my motto will always be: everybody needs a friend until it's time to be one. Right. Divorce is no different than death in some instances. It's like, even when it's over, it's not really over. That grief cycle continues to arise in some people's lives. And if you are not present in someone's life in the good and the bad, don't just be around when they living at the best of their life. Sometimes you need to be present, even if it's just to sit and be still and be present in the parts where it's considered the worst of their life. So kudos to you. Audrey.
Yeah. Wait, real quick. I want to say, I want to thank the audience who's been with us since the beginning of the show and come in since. I want to take a moment to shout out some people. I see Diedrich Williams in the chat room, as well as my good friend LaPisian Liberty of A View TV. We got to get you back on the show, Lap. I see So Steph, who will be on next week on the show as well. Looking forward to seeing her on the show as always. We have Sunflower, of course. I'm so glad to see her. I haven't talked to her in like forever. And also, let's see. Oh, Boogie is in the chat room as well. So for all those people who are on the chat room who haven't made their voices be heard, I know it's way more people than that. Let us know that you were here, and we give you a shout out. All right, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna give a shout out real quick to my mommy, because I know she's in there, but she's not gonna be in no chat with nobody. She's watching it.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
All right, Audrey, would you like to tell us the straw that broke your camel's back in your marriage? Our newest divorcee.
Yes. I was married for 7 years. And probably 2 years into the marriage, we separated. It was a whole lot of everything going on. We separated. It wasn't proven infidelity, but we separated. Spent some time apart. Got back together. Then probably around year 4, we separated again. That time it was proven infidelity. It was crazy. The whole saying, like, everything done in the dark comes to light. The person that he was creeping with just so happens to get her hair done by my cousin. So boom, that's how that ended up coming out. And so we separated, filed papers, legally separated. We were legally separated for about 1.5 years, not quite 2 years. And the process of the separation, I went through a range of emotions. First, it was like, I don't need him. I'm good, yada, yada, yada. But then I think I got to a place where like the dating pool was looking real grungy. And I was like, ugh, do I really want to go back into this? And so the time we were separated, he was constantly talking about, I want my family back. I want my family back. And so actually Rachel's wedding came back from one of my bestest friends' wedding. And it was like, okay, let's give it a try. We started counseling again. We reconciled, ended the legal separation, stopped the whole process. We were together a good 2 years. And then infidelity came into the picture again. It took a minute for me because the first time infidelity, it hurt me because I was like so caught up on what I thought a perfect wife would be, a perfect mother would be. trying to maintain home, trying to maintain the kids and do my wifely duties. And it caught me off guard because I thought I was doing everything that I was supposed to do, everything that a good wife, a good mother was supposed to do. And then for you to still step out of our marriage. And for me, what we did premarital counseling. And I remember one of the questions was, what is your deal breaker? What is that one thing that you feel that you could not recover from? And for me, it was infidelity. And that was the one thing that he did. It was like, that was the deal breaker. And that's what you're going to do. And so the first time with infidelity, that hurt, but I got over it. We reconciled. But this time, it was kind of like, first time, shame on you. Second time, shame of me. So I went ahead and filed papers in August. And on Valentine's Day, 2019, went to court and got that puppy finalized. And I am 11 days free, divorced.
All right.
And still kind of shaky, but like I said, somebody questioned in the chat earlier, I feel like I'm free. It was overtime. It been time.
Yeah. Thank you, Audrey, for sharing.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Thank you, Audrey.
We appreciate you.
So I have a question. I'm gonna start with the guys on this, and starting with Anthony. The subject of adultery, cheating, whatever you want to call it, as keep coming up. Is that a deal breaker for you, Anthony?
All right, check 1 2. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah.
You good? Okay. All right. At one point in life, it would have been a deal breaker. At this point in life, it's not. Reason being because I think there's so much emphasis placed on the act of extramarital affair or the act of sex outside of marriage. Like that is the most egregious thing that could be that could happen to you. Now I understand that betrayal lies in that. There's loyalty that's lost. There's trust that's lost. But then, in that same regard, I don't necessarily hold that over lying. That same level of trust is at jeopardy. Just anything that's out of the realm of my or our best interest is equivalent. You know what I mean? Outside of like the, 7 deadly sins. But I think if like, okay, a mother who has lost her son due to some gang violence or a murder can forgive or can, show compassion or something like, but you're telling me that cheating, that, that specific act is greater than these things or whatever. And I'm like, that's just, again, my personal viewpoint. At one point I was of the mindset because I'd been, I guess, inundated with that idea like, oh, don't cheat. This is the absolute worst thing that you could do. But there are so many other things, abuse, mental, emotional, verbal abuse, all of these things, you'll stay through that. But if your significant other goes and has sex with somebody else, then that's just I just can't take no more. I can't take that at all. And so I just had to weigh certain things out in life, because even with that infidelity, for me now, there are questions that are involved. And I'm more so of the why behind the what. I may not like the particular action, but I'd like to know psychologically, okay, what was going on? What led you to get to this point? Was it just, I guess, a sense of lack of care for me or care for yourself? Was there something else that was, is this an expression of, I guess, maybe an absence of something or insufficiency that you don't necessarily know how to articulate or communicate, and it ended up leading down a rabbit hole to this particular point? Is it something that's habitual, or are you just a sex addict and you can't, it's your desires are insatiable and I just need to have different partners? Like, what is the actual reason? And then from that, those reasons and the chronological order of events at that point will determine whether or not I can, I decide I want to stay, or I decided I don't want to be involved in this relationship anymore.
Oh wow, man, that's deep, man. Yeah, it's very interesting. And I'm gonna I'm gonna ask Lamb that question too, but I want to get Dre's point of view, and then I'm going to Lamb, and then Olaf, and then the ladies.
Yeah, I would like to expound on that. Like me, my ex-wife cheated twice that I know of, and I had to there's a couple of things that people tend not to do, and I think a lot of it has to do with of how they view themselves, and some people are afraid to look in the mirror. I had to ask myself, well, she stepped out, but is there anything I did to not meet whatever need she had to cause her to look somewhere else? Right. And that's something that a lot of people don't do. We think, okay, this person is cheating, and am I saying it's right? Absolutely not. I don't think that there should be any reason why somebody goes and cheats on the person that they committed their life to. But at the same time, we also got to think, well, is it a possibility that I may have played a part in pushing her or him to somebody else's arms? Like for instance, like for me in my marriage, I took pride in that I was a good husband, a good father. I was home every night. I never cheated, never put a hand on her to hurt her. And in my mind, I was thinking, well, what else could she want? Right? What else could she ask for? And my ex-wife wanted a little bit more excitement, right? And when you're an assistant pastor at a church, you're working full time. The church sort of controls your life and tells you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what ways you need to do it. Here's the steps to do it, and all that stuff. And they don't really have a concern about your family itself. So my mind, good Christian man, dedicated father, devoted husband, loves the Lord. Everybody was saying the same thing. What more could she ask for? And there was a need that she had that at that particular moment I didn't meet, and that was she wanted more excitement. So she went out and she tried to find that excitement in other places. Since then, I had to do some self-reflection and think to myself, wow, going forward, I am going to make sure that I create excitement for myself so that when I do find somebody and get married again, I'm incorporating that excitement in my marriage going forward. Like that's, and with my new marriage going forward.
That's why Dre's taking his woman bungee jumping on the first date.
Yeah, and to the pool, okay? There's reasons, but that's probably a whole different show. But
can I ask a question? Did she communicate that to you, and you just did not comply? Did you know that that's what she was wanting? And
I didn't
you
know.
Did not comply?
No, I didn't know. But the thing is, it was also a matter of like we got married young, and she really didn't want to be a wife or a mother. When she left, she was tired of it, and she just wanted to go and live her life.
Okay.
My thing was, well, maybe if I added a little bit more excitement, maybe if I did more, and and I'm not saying that that was the right choice. I'm saying that what we should do is self-reflect on what role we may have played in that. And a lot of times we don't do that. We make ourselves the victim right away. Right. This person cheated. They're automatically the villain. But sometimes when your husband comes home and from a long day of work and they're stressed out at work, they want to come home to peace. And the wife, and I'm not saying anybody in the panel was this way, but they come home and they want peace. And the wife is turning up at home, cursing out the kids and all that stuff. And there's a coworker at work who is nice, who listens, and he sort of tends to fall into that. Like we have to be able to think about how we contributed to that, and sometimes we don't do that. And I'm not saying that you should just play the victim, like not play the victim role, or you got to know what I'm saying, right? So I hope it makes sense.
Yeah.
Andre, my brother, I appreciate the introspection and value what you said. The onus doesn't fall on you, though, to think about what somebody else is thinking. Part of a relationship requires maturity, and part of that maturity is communication, right? And that's what was being and there was no communication. You're not supposed to be a mind reader. You got into it for the right reason. So, but I appreciate the introspection because you've taken responsibility for any potential action. Again, though, I don't know about that. If you got married again, you're going to try to be more exciting. You're the bomb just the way you are. Why do you need to change? You know what I'm saying? Now, if you get involved in a relationship with somebody and they agree to that relationship with you, then you're two whole people, right? And you cannot take responsibility for those people. We're going to assume that you're whole to begin with.
Right.
Because in the beginning of a relationship, and some people it takes longer than others, come on. You know that you don't want them to hear you burp, fart, or whatever. Come on. You have to be truthful up front. You have to be who you need to be up front.
So, man,
right?
if I may respond just to that, you're absolutely right. We have to be truthful up front, but we also have to consider the other person as well. So I can go into a relationship and say, this is my demands, this is what I want. And then if she says, well, I think I want the same things, I'm not going to go into the relationship. I need to know what you want also, right? When you're in a relationship, you're looking to meet her needs, just like she's looking to meet my needs. Now, if my wife had needs that I didn't meet, it's my responsibility to meet her needs. Just like if I had needs.
Yeah, but you have to know about it though.
But you don't.
What I'm saying is, it's my responsibility. So let's say, if I ask her about it, right, and I love her, and she is embarrassed to tell me about her needs, right, I am going to try my hardest to identify those needs. Just because she doesn't tell me, I'm not going to sit back and say, you know what, she didn't tell me. It's all good. If this relationship ends, it's going to be totally on her. We can't look at relationships that way.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I take responsibility for my part. I even sent a letter and I wrote in a letter, whatever I did, whatever. Please, I'll probably never get your part, whatever. I did all of that. But what I'm saying is, as grown, mature adults going into a relationship, communication is key. The problem is we get into so many relationships and we never take the time to talk. Take the time to talk, to communicate, to find out. I said last week, I'm going to know after the first conversation I have with somebody on a date if I'm going to be with that person or not. Because I'm at the point, I'm 55 years old. I'm going to ask some questions. And I'm going to, and we're going to have to communicate. I can't be a mind reader. I don't want to be a mind reader. I want you to have enough confidence in me and to be able to be vulnerable with me and trust me with you. If we not doing, you can't trust me with you, we don't need to be together. Because there's going to be some time you're going to have to hold me up and I'm falling apart.
Right. That's it right there.
And that's with everything about me, the good, the bad, and the in-between. And if we can't talk about that and I can't be honest with you, there's no need for me to be with you. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you were wrong or she was wrong or you were right. But I'm just saying, don't take responsibility for what you did not know, because if she didn't communicate it with you, you can't know. You're not.
So you guys are mistaking what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I didn't bring up at all about communication. I brought about self-reflection. What I'm saying is, when something goes wrong in a relationship, many times we don't self-reflect on how we played a part in that.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm not putting the blame on her. I'm not putting the blame on myself. What I'm saying is, we rarely self-reflect on what I may have done to push her to that point. I'm not saying that she didn't tell me her needs. I'm saying that what could I have done better, self-reflect, to make sure I met that need so that she wouldn't be pushed.
So you're
That's
saying
what I'm saying.
what I've done better was to know that she wanted more excitement, even though she didn't tell me.
Say that again?
I'm being serious. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Repeat. I didn't hear you.
Are you saying that what you would have done better was try to be more exciting or figure out that she wanted more excitement, even though she didn't tell you that? Is that you saying that's what you would have done better?
Or different?
Hold on. So what I'm saying is, she didn't have to tell me through her mouth. Her actions told me everything. That's what I'm trying to tell. That's what I'm trying to communicate. There are certain things that we should be able to identify.
No, man, you're not Sigmund Freud, and neither am I.
And that's my thing about marriage, right? If I may.
Hold on, just a minute. Hold on.
And here's my thing about marriage, right? It seems like we go into marriage, and when we go into marriage, we're looking to find somebody to only make us happy. And we don't want to get to know the person through their actions and through their words. So even if she didn't say, or even if in your situation, they didn't say anything to you, actions also speak. Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Actions also speak. Okay.
Absolutely.
A good husband, a good wife, right, will look at the actions, look at the mannerisms. If I come home and my wife had a bad day, right, and I see it in her actions, do I need her to tell me she had a bad day?
No.
So that's what I'm saying. Okay. I can tell by her doing what she was doing toward the end of our marriage that she wanted those things. I found out that she wanted more excitement after the fact because we had that conversation. But if I was a little bit more tuned to what she was doing and trying to make those changes based on what she was doing, or even sparking the conversation, hey, I noticed that you're going clubbing. Is there anything that I'm not doing? And I didn't do that. I'll be honest. I didn't do that. Okay.
You know what? What I'll say to what you're saying is there's a lot of truth into what everyone else is saying and what you're saying.
Yeah.
What I get that you're saying is that you should have been more aware of what was the downfall that was going in your relationship.
Well, or pretty much self-reflect.
You're not absolving her from what she did wrong. Yeah. You're just saying there was things that maybe, I was so consumed with work. Yeah. I was consumed with this. I didn't even realize I was losing my wife. Mm-hmm. And so, but you're not absolving her from what she did. At all. So, I mean, I get that. You're way more compassionate and nicer than I am, but I got to give it to you though, for that, because most people don't really do that. Yeah. It's real easy to say the person you're with was a jerk or whatever. And, I mean, sometimes there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. Yeah. But then also, like you said, the person do need to communicate. If that's really a problem, you need to communicate that. Mm-hmm. And you bring up something very interesting too, that, what you bring up is an interesting point about self-reflection. I think we kind of touched on that last week, right? About this idea of doing a lot of, doing autopsies of your previous relationship. Or sometimes you need to do an autopsy while the patient's alive. Right. So I hear what you're saying. But you're not absolving.
Absolutely not.
Not at all. So I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I get what you're saying too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we all got what he was saying. I just wanted to say to the brother that he is a good brother and he's going to find the woman. He's going to find the woman, or they're going to find each other, and it's all good. It had nothing to do with whether it was right or wrong or whatever. My comment was that when people get into relationships, you want to be whole and mature. And there has to be communication. And those are the things that tend to be lacking in relationships from the get-go. And I've heard enough people say, especially women, they'll say about a guy, guys don't communicate. Well, I communicated a lot, right? And sometimes you just, and according to Andre, you just got to keep asking questions, or you have to be vigilant. But that's the love, though, if you're really vigilant.
If I may.
Yes, please jump in.
Please, Miss Grenada.
Yes, thank you. I would like to say that a long while after my marriage ended, I think it was around 2018, maybe 27 at the end of 2017. I couldn't take the back and forth and the fighting, so I decided to say, "Can we just go for lunch somewhere?" And I sat across from him, and I wrote out all of the things that possibly he didn't like about what we were doing, maybe in the marriage, as a result of the breakdown of the marriage. And I wrote it consciously with the understanding that he will not acknowledge his side of these things. And I had to let that go. I had to let it go and just get it out of my body.
Right.
And so I wanted him to just listen. And I apologize line by line for what I brought to the table in terms of the breakdown of, and that man cried. That was probably like the third or fourth time in our entire relationship where that man cried, because I freed him from something. And I could stay here and tell you all of the things and all of the reasons why he was this and he was that. But at the end of the day, he is the father of my child. And I will not look at it through the lens of his actions, because many things lead people to act in particular ways.
Right.
And that's the maturity I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah. It took a while to get there, but I got there. And I continue to work on myself and reflect, because I don't want to project that onto anyone else.
Right.
I did the same thing. I sent a certified, I wrote it out, because we haven't spoken except one time since we got out of divorce court. And I sat and wrote a letter, and I identified everything that I thought I did, and I told him, I'll probably never get an apology from you, but I release you. I forgive you, and I'm done. And that I was done after that. So I don't bash him. You know, I tell my story, but I don't bash him. You know, I don't call his name. I don't do anything. You know, it's over for me. You know, and I try to my story to help other people get through where I'm going through, what I went through. You know, because I'm a suicide survivor. Over it. You know, I was on 5 different medications. Wow. That marriage and divorce took me through pure hell. When I came out, I had absolutely nothing. And so, you know, I try to help people, men and women, who are in their marriage to maintain their marriage. And keep in mind, you may not want a divorce. It may not be on your radar, but you still have to prepare yourself for what may happen. Because so when I came out, I was in financial ruin, physical ruin, emotional ruin. He was my pastor, so I was spiritually ruined. So you have to prepare yourself for what may happen, you know. And that's why I tell my story and why I do what I do. It's not to bash him, but it's the reality of life. Over 50% of marriages end in divorce, and that's in the church and out of the church. So somebody's gonna go through a divorce, and they need to know how to go through it and come out on the other side better.
Before I go back to Shannon and we continue on. I want LA to speak to kind of what Dre was saying. What is this excitement that that is lacking that men need to think about in these relationships? How do you provide excitement so that you can keep these ladies excited, happy, and content?
Do I seem like I need some excitement?
Look, I see you.
Kente, I'm a party for one.
Whatever, you be doing your thing. Like you and Narcissa left. You know, y'all be out there doing your thing. So, what's this excitement? How we gin up this excitement? I want to know. Me, Dre want to know. I can excitement already. I already know. He know this excitement stuff.
Listen, if a woman is in a relationship and she is acting out for excitement, there's a hole in her, inside of her, that she's looking for external things to fill.
Yeah. Brave sister.
Because
about to go to church.
I don't know how old she was, Dre, but especially if they're younger, young women don't know yet their fullness and their potential. And so they are going to act out. And if they grew up in the church or things or anything else that kind of suppressed their ability to discover who they are and to formulate opinions about who they are as women, if they don't have good role models, things like that. These are women that are going to look for excitement, but you will never be able to fill that void because it's a void that comes from them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's nothing, Dre, that you could have done, sweetie. You were probably amazing.
Right. You are. And you just need to remember that. You got to remember that. I feel privileged to be part of this panel.
Oh, don't get it twisted. Dre doesn't feel bad about himself.
No, I don't think. No, there's nothing about what he said that he feels bad about himself at all.
There's something, there's something that is something that we should all consider in a marriage, right?
Absolutely.
I have needs, right? And there are things about me that I like. My spouse is going to have needs. There are things that she's interested in that she likes, and there's things that I can do to help meet. In fact, there's a great book called His Needs, Her Needs. Has anybody read that?
No.
Reading.
It's a good book.
When I mean it's a great book. And
what book is that?
His Needs, Her
married
Needs.
couples class.
Yeah. I want the audio book.
Look, I read it in seminary.
No, there's so many dope books about it. Like when I was in school getting my degree in counseling, a lot of great books. And one of the reoccurring themes in every single counseling course is the needs of the spouse, right? So we have everybody has needs. All right. For instance, let's take a look at your situation, brother. You didn't want children, right? You communicated that from the very beginning, right? Your wife wasn't truthful in the very beginning. She had a particular need. And even then, you didn't want it, but you were willing to meet that need, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what marriage is really all about. Two people coming together, together. That's my like brand, TWO together to become one. And one of the best ways to become one is choosing to meet the other person's needs. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm looking forward to one day meeting somebody's needs. I'm just saying.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Oh, it's happening.
Me too.
It's happening this week, Dre.
Oh, prophecy. Home biscuit. I love it.
Home biscuit.
Home biscuit.
Oh, y'all reading?
Right, I can cook.
Yes.
Now, Olaf, we haven't heard from you in a minute, Olaf. As you're a two-time, you and Lamb are two-time getting married. So, I mean, I can't think of the idea of going through one divorce, let alone two. I mean, man, like, what did you? I mean, did you learn anything from the first divorce that prepared you when you knew you were going to the second
one? Well, yeah, it's like get a prenup.
Yo, that's one lesson you only learn
So
once.
when we get a second, I got a question about prenups because I was having a conversation with one of my best friends about prenups. He's in the stages of getting ready to get married, and that came up because he's concerned about. I guess I don't think it's a concern, but I think it's just a notable thought to have because of business situations. And I'm like, I've just never been. Prior to now, I hadn't been in a situation to where I was financially able to be in those conversations. I'm like, what am I going to have a prenup for? I ain't got nothing. But yeah, please, if we can just stick a pin in that and come back to the prenup conversation when you get done.
Yeah, that was the one thing. But like I said, the first marriage didn't last that long, but there was quite a bit of debt brought up in the first marriage, and like it didn't last long because she stepped out on me. So I'm like, yeah, we're done. And so it's just like going into the second one, I thought I had my I's dotted, T's crossed, thought everything was good. And the reason I did the prenup is because I was part owner of a business, and it's like what I did with the I had a house going in and business and all that stuff, and I had my lawyer draw up a prenup, and she my second wife, she signed it without any hesitation. She said, okay, sure, signed it. So
Wow.
it kind of one of those things. That's the prenup is kind of a double-edged sword. In other words, that can either make or break you getting married, because if she thinks that you need to have the prenup to get married, then it can cause problems. And for me, it was like, I want to make sure that she's doing this because she wants to marry me, not my stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the prenup is like. I'm protecting my stuff in case something happens. And I had a house. I had a house when I got married the second time from my first marriage. I had a house, and when I bought the second house, I had the house put in my mom and dad's and my name, because when you get divorced, it's a 50-50. So when I got married the second time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna fix this one. Just in case. I wasn't planning on it not lasting, but just in case. If I did get divorced, she would only be entitled to 1/2 of 1/3 of whatever the value of the house was, because it was owned, because I had my mom, my dad, and me. So I only legally owned 1/3 of the house.
Great.
So,
Real quick question, ladies. Would you sign a prenup, Audrey?
I would.
What about you, LA?
I don't know. I don't know. It depends on the.
Well, LA is a baller, so he would probably have to sign one.
No, what is going on? You guys need to come to Canada and see how humble I am.
I can sense it through the screen, honey. You real humble.
She is a plantation out there in Canada. What about you, Tracy? Would you sign a prenup?
Why would I sign a prenup? Sorry, Tracy, but like, why would I sign a prenup?
Why wouldn't you?
Why would I? Like, I'm not entering into a relationship.
Come on, if you get married, when you get married again, would you sign one?
No, I don't think I would.
No. What about you, Tracy? Would you sign one if you got married again?
Yep. And he was
Shannon.
You want the real answer?
Yes, the real answer.
You can prenup these nuts because I'm nuts.
What? We're looking at prenup like it's a guy thing. Like it's meant to protect guys.
It's like, well, now I didn't just walk in. I wasn't one of these things. I didn't just go to my lawyer and say, "Hey, draw up a prenup and this," because I had a side, two different businesses. It's like the family business that I was part of, and then I had another video business on the side that I was doing. Recording weddings and things, and I had a lot of equipment and stuff that, some expenses, and I didn't just have my lawyer draw it up, walk in one day and say, "Hey, sign this." We had a discussion about it before, so it wasn't just I didn't blindside her with "Here, sign this." It was a discussion, and she said she didn't have any problem whatsoever signing it. And I'm like, okay, so I had to. My lawyer draw it up that she had no, that she didn't. If we got divorced, then like I had a couple of cars, and all my video equipment, and then my portion of the business, that she would not be entitled to that. She'd be entitled to half of whatever any marital assets. Of course, she's legally entitled to half of that, but any of the premarital stuff, no. And I found out later on that a prenup, it's like any really good lawyers, it's like I talked to when I did get to the divorce the second time, talked to the lawyer, and he said, yeah, after 10 years of marriage, any lawyer, any really halfway decent divorce lawyer could break a prenup after 10 years, and we've been married 30.
That's why you gotta get a divorce before 9.5 years.
Yeah, so on your ninth year you're out, and then you're safe. But
see here, let me say this because that's my fear. Like, I don't want to become cynical. I don't want to become a Terry McMillan character. I don't want to be like, I hate all men. That's what I don't want to become. I know that there is someone out there for me, and I know that I am going to be someone. But it just seems like a lot of times when I talk to other divorced people, they're jaded. It's almost like, because to me, Olaf, and I don't even know you, but like, you had a backup plan for a backup plan for a backup plan. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of just makes me feel like I don't want to have a backup plan for a backup plan. I don't want to become, I don't know, I guess I don't want to become guarded to the point where I'm coming up with backup plans.
Yeah. Well, part of it for me though was from the first marriage. I heard things, and it kind of came out that it's like it was like I said, it was dating for a little while, and then getting married, and kind of like after we got married, it was like, all right, here's the checking, let's sit down and do the bills, and look at the checking account, and here's the now that we're married, here's all the assets of what everything is. And basically she found out I didn't have what she thought I had.
Mm.
So that's why the protection on that's why on the second one, I went like, back up, because like, okay, I want to make sure that she wants to be with me and not what I have.
Right. I got
That's so it wasn't just, oh, I'm gonna back up and back up and back up, so it's just to save myself. It was more of, like I said, because my first wife, I found out, that she was like one got married and was like, well, you ain't got what I thought you had, so well, I'm just gonna go run with whoever I wanted to.
Mm.
You know what? There's no handbook. There's no enchiridion for relationships, raising children, for spirituality. You figure it out as you go. And so for Olaf, that was perfect. It's
Right.
not the way that Lama Jamma would do it, but that was absolutely perfect for Olaf. The next time I hook up with a honey, I'm going the same way I did the first time. I'm going all in. There's no concern about what they have, what they don't have. If there's love, I figure at the age that we're at right now, and it's not happening, something's wrong.
Right.
So Olaf was mature in his decision making based upon his experience, and I think that worked really well for him. And love you for it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was. You learn later on in life, as time goes by, you're like going, yeah, it was actually a pretty decent decision. And it's like when I got divorced the second time, and the same thing when I got divorced the first time. I'm like, when I bought her a car, I paid, it's like got her, helped her get an apartment and paid for it for, a little bit until she got kind of on her feet. And, if she wanted something out of the house, and if as long as it wasn't like a family heirloom or something like that, I didn't care. Take what you want. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I can replace it. And with my second wife, same thing. It's like, she had two kids from a previous marriage. So I helped get her a house. And I said I helped get her a house, gave her the her car, let her say, I said, whatever furniture you want out of the house. There was one piece of furniture that she would like to have had because it was an antique, and I said, well, that's a family heirloom. I'd rather not. And she was like, okay. So there's no fighting over it. Second marriage, I just had my lawyer was the one that handled the whole divorce. She didn't. She's like, well, do I need to get a lawyer? I said, we're both adults. I think we can, manage to get through this and work through this without any real problems. So my lawyer handled the divorce, and it went through. She got whatever she wanted and took whatever she wanted. Kids, so the kids were taken care of, and waited till I waited till the actual divorce. I didn't file for it. I mean, it was like January we decided we were going to get divorced. I didn't actually file for divorce until the kids were out of school that year, and then helped her find a place and helped her get the next place and paid the rent for the 2.5 years, and cable bill and everything else, helped her out, and till she could find a job and things. That way the kids weren't really interrupted in their school.
Right.
And
Olaf, was this your second wife?
That's my second wife, yeah.
Bro, I gotta tell you, I think you there's a bad stigma about prenup, but like after hearing you, right? I think like if you was like knowing who you are now, based on what you were saying, I think I can confidently say that you getting a prenup wasn't trying to be cynical about your marriage. Like even afterwards, you're still trying to help out and be a provider. It seems like you're a natural provider.
Can I tell you a secret, Dre? It's not even a secret.
Go ahead.
His ex-wife is they're like best friends. Like I know her very well. She's an awesome person. Everybody loves his ex-wife. Oh yeah, he calls the evil one.
Yeah, I always call her I introduce her as the evil one. She's the evil one. Yeah, the evil ex-wife. Oh, she's. I'm not the evil one. You are. Like, well, yeah.
But everybody loves her though.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what's interesting? What's interesting is that the things that people focus on is exactly what they attract. And so prenups were a concern, and taking care of certain situations were a concern. And that's exactly the example that you ended up with. I'm saying that when we go into relationships, we got to put our minds into what we desire, not what we don't want. There's so many things that we don't desire. And if you say you desire love, we don't need to talk about what you don't want. Love is love. You know, hate is the opposite of love.
Right.
It's real simple. So we attract whatever it is that we put our energy into. And so if our energy is into not wanting kids, what's going to happen? Chick wants to have kids, even though we agreed not to. Right. If fidelity is an issue, what's gonna happen? Fidelity's gonna be the problem, Audrey. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of it, the experience that we needed to have, we're all having. There were no bad experiences.
Right.
Okay, Anthony, let's talk about temptation while you were married. He's like, why me? Temptation. You always hear that, you know, when you put the ring on, you know, it goes up. You know. So how did you avoid temptation? I'm not telling you to tell on yourself if you but how did you avoid temptation? How much temptation was out there? How'd you sidestep? How'd you get your Walter Payton on?
Oh my God.
And you're on mute.
Right? On purpose.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's like, yeah, let me sit up for this one.
He ain't talking now.
I mean, I'm be as transparent as I always been. No opaque. Avoid temptation. Well, initially, for a good while, I avoided temptation. It wasn't really like a sidestep issue, because I guess I wasn't looking. It wasn't, my focus was on being newly married and everything that came along with that. Shortly after we were married, then the relationship or the marriage kind of began to fall into some tumultuous waters, and temptation began to present itself or manifest.
Temptation put on her jersey and got in the game.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know how the old Baptist, the devil was busy, boy. The devil is busy.
Nah, the devil was not busy.
I mean, no, I'm using it as a joke, but
right.
No, I mean, so for a while I avoided it, but then there was a point where I didn't avoid it, and on purpose. Especially toward the end of the marriage. Like I said, we married 4 years, but 2 years into the marriage, I was like, yeah, we need to get divorced, because I was able kind of to foresee what was kind of imminent, what was going to happen, just based on the way our behaviors were, based on trajectory, and I guess in a little bit of a third-eyedness. I'm like, yeah, this is going to become a whole lot worse before it gets better. And I tried to articulate that and explain that, and it wasn't received well because of, which I understand, because there is a desire to not get divorced. There's a desire to not be a statistic in the negative sense. There's all of these desires, but I think in a lot of the things that people are taught as they grown up, whether it be through the presence of good examples of marriage or the lack thereof, or whether it be inundation of a certain ideology as far as churches or spirituality is concerned, that plays a major part. Your immediate peer group or your social settings, those things play a part in that too. So it's like, well, I don't want to look like the one that's, everybody's looking at us like, oh yeah, y'all like the model couple. That is like the seed of destruction. Because as soon as, oh yeah, y'all are goals. Y'all are the, we want to be like y'all, but you have absolutely no idea what's going on behind closed doors. We love y'all so much.
That's facts.
We love y'all, And I'm like, that is this. Please, I'm like, my next marriage. Don't nobody ever say that to me ever in life, because this is not your perception. Is not my reality.
Not my reality. Say that.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, there was a point, like I said, I avoided temptation. I didn't have to avoid it, and then I had to avoid it, and then I indulged in it intentionally, because for me, I got into there was a lot of baggage that was unaddressed, because I guess prior to the marriage that was carried over into the marriage, as far as suppression of thoughts, feelings, things of that nature. Like, I'm supposed to be the head, the lead, stuff. It was so many things I was told. Like, I was dealing with issues of inadequacy because I wasn't in a financial position that I thought I needed to be in, which I think was very, very valid. I think we could have waited, and there was potential for the marriage to be sustained. But at the same time, I don't know, because there are a lot of other factors that played into the demise of it ultimately. But I needed to save my own life. I put it that way. I was beginning to unravel. So to kind of top other things in, the point where the straw that broke the camel's back was a point where I was having dreams. I was like, I was having nightmares. I'm being shot at the head. I felt like I was literally dying within the marriage, but it wasn't necessarily.
Wow.
It wasn't 100% on her. Again, there was a lot of things because, all right, I'm also a wartime veteran. I was a year in Iraq, so that things happened. Also, growing up in the impoverished inner cities in America as a young black man, that also produced some PTSD. Growing up with my mother, single parent household, she was one that I learned to suppress my emotions and things from. So there was no crying, especially not as a man. Oh, you got a man up, you can't cry, you can't show your feelings. You got to be the rock. You got to be strong. You got to be. Don't show anybody your hand. So I mastered the facade. So all of these things, in addition to becoming married and still dealing with inadequacies, still dealing with feeling like I'm insufficient, whether it be projected from my spouse or self-projection or societal expectations, just all of these things kind of factored into it, to where I'm like, if I don't find, and the absence of an active sexual relationship with my spouse, that was another factor that played into it. It's like, well, the incompatibility began to produce itself, or to manifest, or I guess the realization thereof during the marriage. Like, okay, well, we define these things completely different. What you feel like is on this level, you're not. And we know, as we learned from the first podcast, I'm not vanilla.
Right.
You are not vanilla.
Yeah, so it's like there was an imbalance that's occurring. So now it's like, okay, well, you go break down the 80-20 rule. Okay, if you're the 80, but this 20 is very significant, or maybe it's more than actual 20. Maybe it's a good 45. And while, you have the majority, this is still a massive piece that needs to be, for me, I guess, addressed, and it's not being. And so then there's the manifestation of the things that I'm thinking about or I'm desiring. Oh, I want these things to happen. Well, here's this woman. She'll do all of these things and other things that I didn't even thought to think about. It's like, well, I don't want to do this because I don't want to, betray the covenant that I agreed to underneath the eyes of the church and God and the pastor. I also don't want to betray this love and trust, but I'm also trying to figure out how to hold on to my sanity, because I'm unraveling. I'm waking up in the middle of the night not knowing where I am in a house that I've lived in for 2 years. Like, there are so many things that played a factor. It was like, if I don't do something, which it wasn't necessarily the appropriate socially acceptable way to handle those things, but for me in that moment, that's what I needed to save my life until I can get to a better safety net or a better raft or a better understanding of how to do it. So the summation of all of that is I didn't have to divert from temptation. Then I did have to. And the way that it was introduced was interesting too, because it wasn't random women. These were women that I've known for years, and teenage relationships, or like we thought we were cute back in the day, and now we're adults. And then man, you're appealing to a sense of me that not even my wife understands, because she hasn't known me this long. And so now I'm reading out parts of me that I thought I lost is now being identified by someone who's very familiar, to where now that leads into emotional exchanges, well, friendly exchanges to now emotional exchanges to now we're being physical, and I'm hearing, oh yeah, I'll wait for you. Well, what do you mean? I never said I was leaving my wife. What do you mean you're gonna wait for me? Like I don't. And now you have to deal with all of these other types of things. So at the point where I was now having to deal with avoiding temptation, to the point where I was like, yeah, I need a release, because if I don't, I'm gonna snap. And it was extremely dark. Like, I'm having anxiety attacks on the highway. I got to pull over because I can't breathe, chest tight. Like, I'm seemingly fine. I'm going to work, then I can't breathe out of. So I mean, that those things were the straw that broke the camel's back. Well, those things were also the things that led me into giving into temptation, no longer fighting it. Shout out to Beyonce. And so, like I said, it wasn't the best way to do it. I mean, socially, it wasn't. But for me at the time, that was what I mean. Aside from, if I had to pick a vice, I would rather cheat than smoke crack. You know what I mean? Or,
I would agree with that. Yeah, cheating is not as smoking crack. But all right. I want the ladies to answer this too.
I was going to ask that. Why did you start with the men?
Well, I wanted to hear Anthony specifically, to put him kind of on the spot, but I knew he would come through.
And we also need to catch up on their straws.
I'm gonna start with LA and then go to Audrey.
Again, why am I the one?
Again, right? LA, how did you?
We haven't really spoken.
How did you sidestep the sweet nectar of temptation, especially when the relationship went bad? We need to know this.
I think that in the beginning of my relationship, there was nothing that was going to get me to my head to the left or the right. But I think once I realized that he was not prioritizing me in a particular way, and that things were coming up that, he was never caught, but I don't know, there's been many things that I saw that pointed to a certain behavior. And so it started really simple, where I would allow flirtation to make me feel good. And that was my first, seduction. Whereas before, I never used to, when somebody would flirt with me, I would always throw up my husband. Oh, I'm married. And I would be able to hide under that covering in a sense. But when I realized that there wasn't really a covering there, I think it became more of me wanting to get that kind of attention, and allowing myself to be wooed, fully in awareness that I'm allowing that to happen. So much like Anthony, I think I was more interested in straying out of my relationship when I realized there wasn't a relationship. I wasn't in the relationship that I wanted to be in. It didn't exist as I thought it was. And so when his ability to choose to do something else was apparent to me, I think we both just kind of lived separate lives in the last year or two of the relationship. We just did our own thing. We were separated, but we still lived in the same place.
Wow, that's deep. That's pretty sad there. What about you, Audrey? How did you sidestep?
Pretty sad there.
How did you sidestep the sweet nectar of temptation?
Audrey.
She looks frozen.
Oh, she's frozen.
Audrey, do you love
Let it go.
Frozen. Okay. All right, let's go to Tracy. How did you do that? I mean,
you talking about during the marriage or after?
Yeah, during the marriage, especially when you weren't happy or fulfilled in the marriage.
I had no desire to go anywhere or do anything. I was not tempted to. I was so consumed in my relationship, I was not even, my thought process wasn't even to venture out or that's it. Now, after the relationship was over, it was I flirted a lot, but I never went any further than that. But during my relationship, I was solid.
I got a question. During your relationship, do you think that your position or your status assisted in the lack of desire to be tempted by the sweet nectar of temptation?
Yes.
Or
Yes,
He's
definitely.
not calling it
Okay.
that no more.
Because my commitment was to God, to my relationship, and to my children, and I didn't want to do anything that would cause embarrassment to any of them.
Right.
And so it never even crossed my mind.
I
Wow.
want to be like you when I grow up, Tracy.
I know, right?
Three.
It's one. Yeah, it's one thing.
Now I wish I could. No, I wish I could find somebody, but no. It's
Now,
fine.
now, Dre, and I'm gonna get to you, Lamb. Dre, you know, pastor. You know, I'm pretty sure the ladies in the church was trying to choose. You know, they wanted you to lay some hands on them. How did you sidestep that? I know you
touch and agree.
I gotta be honest. Like, I've only while I was married, it was only 2 instances that it was like brought up to me full like it was hard to resist. And one and both times like it was I sort of waved my marriage and my wife up like a flag. So everybody knew I was married, and there was no way you was going to get close to me unless you got close to my wife also. So especially if you were a female, I didn't have like even my male friends. Either you are our friend together, or we can't be friends like that, like we used to be. So I didn't give any room for any female to come up close. And when they did flirt, and I didn't recognize it, I always listened to the voice of my ex-wife. I listened and say, you know, she would always, you know, just be careful of this one. And I would. Sometimes I was naive, and if I was, you know, she would help me out with that. But there was only 2 instances that I had the opportunity to cheat. One instance, similar to Anthony's situation, somebody that we both crushed on in high school. And this is toward the end of our marriage where things were like rocky. And I already knew that she cheated twice before. And we ran to each other at the ferry, and she was being flirtatious, and I was just trying to engage in conversation with her. And then she said, I always wondered how things would have been if we got together. And I said, oh, okay. Then she goes on and she's going on. And then she said, you know what? Maybe, you know, you and I should try something. I said, listen, I'm married. You know, I love my wife. I love my kids. I love God too much to do that. And then I asked her, you wouldn't mind being like another man, like the other woman to a man? And then she said, if I was your other woman, I wouldn't mind. And
they out there.
I stopped her and I said, listen,
They are.
I said, I respect you.
the door opened.
Oh, it was deep for me because like she pretty much gave me like a get out of jail free card with, you know, do whatever you. So I said, listen, I respect you too much as a woman to make you my other woman, and I love my family too much to do that also. And she began crying in front of, like, I'm in the middle of the Staten Island ferry terminal, and she begins crying, and I'm like, what are you doing? Stop. Like, stop. I was able to calm her down, and we parted ways, and like I gotta be honest, like I was afraid of God, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yes.
Like I was like, yo, if I ever stepped out of my marriage, like, you know, not only will I be exposed, like God's gonna like judge me big time. But I honestly, I didn't want anything to break up my family, and I wouldn't let that happen for my part. So,
if I may make 2 small interjections, I'd like to make a redaction to the straw that broke the camel's back, because I just had another thought. The straw that broke the camel's back for me, which I didn't realize until later, more likely until after we were divorced, was the moment where her and her father was advocating to put my mother and my siblings out of my house.
Oh, yeah.
So that was where that crack in the mold began. and then everything just continued to fall afterwards. Because again, as I stated before, single parent household, my mother raised me. This gonna always be my mama, but you just got here. And regardless of, I love you, but you would rather, for the sake of an appearance of your peers, put my mother and my family in a homeless shelter, which I told you that I've been in a couple of before. I've been homeless myself. I've been through all of these types of things, and I don't want my mother to go back, let alone my younger siblings, to experience this lifestyle. But that, because you want to entertain and have company over, and it's not conducive to the environment that you're trying to create, because my family is in an emergency situation, you want to send my brother off the Job Corps, you want to send my family off to a homeless shelter, all those. So that moment when, I guess the day that my mother left, it was a lot going on that particular day. I would say to date, one of the worst days in life that I've experienced, and I've been through a lot of horrible shit. But so that was, yeah, I'm like, not, and it's a difference between, I'm always going to make sure my mother's good,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's not even a situation of being like, I've been accused one time by a woman of being a mama's boy. I'm like, no, I have a great relationship with my mother's. This is my friend. We together have grown up together. And because I was the first, we together went through a lot of things together. So I'm like, my relationship is great with my mom, but I don't need her to advocate for every move or every step or every breath I take. This is just the type of relationship we have. And I think there was a lack of understanding with that. The second interjection I wanted to make was what Dre was saying. I'd like to piggyback on was, it is amazing that when you are married, how many women are more than okay and even lobbying to be the mistress, the side chick, the jump off, whichever one of those are separate categories. They're not
Olivia Pope.
Yeah, I mean, like Olivia. If you are, Olivia Pope was more of a mistress. She wasn't, the side chick. Or jump off. She knew Fitz inside and out better than he knew. She knew him better. He knew himself. So I'm like, that's more of a mistress. That's a deeper type of relationship. But how many? I was blown away by certain women that were okay, and this was a thing of. It wasn't a thing to where I never had to go look for it. It was always being either side comments, a little slick, whatever's being said, and then I'll have to kind of take a step back and like, yo, that's not real. I'm not thinking you would be the type of person to indulge in this or engage in this type of behavior.
Be surprised.
But I was mind blown. There is a market out there for extramarital affairs to where you don't have to, there's no lying involved. You can be completely transparent. Oh, this is what it is. I had one woman tell me, yeah, I know you're married. I don't even care if you got another chick on the side. I just want some. I'm like, I don't what is going on in life.
Now, let me ask you a question. Since you've gotten divorced, do you get that kind of attention now?
Yeah, it's kind of, that attention has kind of been consistent. I think since I hit my 20s. To be honest.
Wow.
I mean, no, but I think it's because I'm in a social environment. I'm very sociable. I'm an extroverted introvert. I enjoy my alone time. I enjoy living alone, having my space and all those things. But I can thrive. I guess that's one of my Leo tendencies, as I am a Leo, of being charismatic and things of that nature. That's one of the things that have been prescribed to me under that astrological sign. So I guess I wear that. And because I am those things, then I draw a lot of attention. I mean, probably also because I'm 6'2" and light skinned and 280 pounds. Like, I'm not a small guy in any right. So if I walk into a room, I do command a certain, I guess, attention or presence. And then aside from all the other things, from either being in the entertainment industry, singing, and all these other things. So, I mean, there are a lot of things that draw attention to me. So with being that, I've had to learn, I guess, at a younger age of how to navigate through all of that. And a lot of time, I spend a lot of time at home. So if there's a reason why that attention has declined is because I've tucked myself away for some development. I'm in this cocoon breaking out, trying to get into this third level of grown manisms.
It's good that you're doing that. It's good that I think anybody that goes through a divorce and jumps right into another relationship, I think you need time, like I said last week, to clean out, to empty out from all of that stuff. So that's a great place to be.
Well, I did get into a relationship immediately. Actually, my relationship that started out as a physical encounter turned into a romantic relationship that carried me through the separation on through the divorce, and I was in that relationship, continued to be after, until it got to a point where it felt like she was like, oh, I won. And that made me feel off because
they're out there too.
Yeah, it's like
they intentionally.
I'm like, I explicitly told you and my then wife, like, yeah, I'm not leaving you for her, and I'm not leaving her for you. My decision that I'll be, because at the point where it came to the separation, I was living two lives, and I got to the point where I couldn't, morally, I couldn't continue to live that life. That's not what the person that I am at my core. And although these were my exhibited actions, this isn't who I want to be. For like, this is, I needed to come out of this dark place. Now that I'm out, I'm indulging in this, and like, what's the point? I don't want to carry this on. So I now have to make a decision whether I want to stay in my marriage or if I want to stay in this relationship, this extramarital affair. And even at the end of it, it was like, okay, I'm getting divorced, or I want to be divorced because I need to be, because at this point we have irreconcilable differences maritally. And if we continue to do this, it is going to damage us even more. And I appreciate myself for having the foresight, at least at that point, to follow through with that decision as opposed to dragging it on. Because, I mean, we would still be married at the point where, I mean, it was several months that, I guess I'll take it back, maybe about a year and a half when I was started having affairs, that it was never known. I had a specific regiment and guidelines, so much so that I'm like, I might write a memoir on how to cheat. Like, the only at the point where I got caught, on how to cheat, called The Rules of Engagement. Don't steal my time. Because I'm like, there's a right way to do the wrong thing, and that's regardless of whatever it is you're doing. There are rules to everything that you do, and as much as in the wrong thing, equally in the right thing, you have to know when to get out. One of my favorite songs, you got to know when to hold them, and know when to fold them. Know when to walk away, and know when to run.
And I appreciate you coming up with a handbook on helping the cheating process move a lot smoother, because that's something that was lacking in the marketplace. And honestly, I'm with you, Anthony.
Honestly, the core of it is it's going to more so detail how much time, effort, and energy it takes into successfully cheating. And that if you redirect this energy that you put into having these affairs, you can be successful in so many other things, because you're putting a lot of thought, a lot of plan, if you do it correctly. I put it that way. At the point where I got caught, I no longer cared. I didn't have the energy to maintain this charade. I didn't have the energy to keep pouring in to two different, and at a certain point I'm pouring into two different households, to where now I'm pouring less into one household and more into the other. And the more I take away from this household that I'm actually living in and supposed to be committed to, I'm also taking away from myself. And now this is all going into this one particular place. So now not only is my wife deficient, I am also deficient, and this person is becoming in abundance until it's like a succubus.
Anthony was the black James Bond cheating.
I mean, to a degree. So, I mean, it's a science to it. But the point is, like, everything's gonna be rule number one. My rule number one is, like, don't cheat. It's really not. Ultimately, it's not worth it. But if you are going to,
that's what you say.
But if you are going to,
but I'm saying no. If you're going to do it, because there's a psychologically, I guess a way of thinking as far as how you do it, and if you want to do it successfully, that lends to the idea that you do care about whoever your significant other is, to a degree to where you'll keep them away from embarrassment, away from I guess the knowledge of it, you'll keep yourself physically and in good health. And everything that entails.
Be like, sweetie, I'm not reading this book to cheat. I'm reading to not cheat.
I mean, whatever you do.
That's the title right there, though. Don't cheat.
Whatever you do with it is what you do with it.
It's like, yeah, don't cheat, but you can get my book on Amazon. So now, I don't want you to feel alone. I don't want you to feel alone. As a fellow Leo, I have that same problem when I'm with somebody. As if when I was dating, there was always 2 or 3 other girls that wanted to date me, and the funny part is like when I quit dating, when I would quit dating the one girl, them other 2 or 3 would disappear, and then next time I got a girlfriend, then they're back again. So I think it's something about Leos who always attract when we got somebody.
And I
fire
think
signs.
what you said, Anthony, about cheating and caring, and because in my relationship, the cheating started very early, but I was protected. It was his last one where it was like he just didn't care anymore. He was just like, I ain't wasting no more. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. But I mean, the whole time it started our second year, we were married 31, and it was maybe 2 or 3, maybe more. But he protected me from that, you know. But in this last one, it was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done trying to play this game with you. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And I think that's when my reality check came. That wait, he don't care no more. So, you know. So I agree. If you care about somebody, you're gonna protect the number one, but still, it's still cheating. You know.
I mean, yeah, it is still cheating, and I think that's also another psychological thing to break into as far as why people do it, and then you get off into the different types of relationships as far as the difference between monogamy and or other ideas as far as polygyny or polygamy and polyandry and all these other different institutions of affection.
Yeah.
And then that's a whole other story. But as far as, it's like that one line in Baby Boy, I tell these hoes the truth. I lie to you because I love you. I don't care about these hoes. And it sounds nonsensical, but in a world where you are conducting these behaviors, it makes perfect sense. I'm sorry, Lamb had a question, and we talked over him a little bit.
My question was, are you familiar with Biggie Smalls' 10 Crack Commandments?
Yes. 10 Crack Commandments.
That's one of my favorites.
No, that changed it up. That made him the greatest.
Like, big time. Big time. Follow the rules. Oh man, can't go wrong.
Yeah, lyrically it was genius.
Yeah, he is a genius.
Well, I'm actually going to tie this up because we're going to move over to another platform for more conversation. I guess at one point in this year we're going to have to come back for a part 2.
Facts.
Because this conversation is just getting better and better, and I'm just sitting here like, oh, really? Like I'm about to go pop some popcorn. So we're going to close with one question. Limit yourself to 3 words or a short answer. For those of you who are wanting to pursue a new relationship and eventually get married, what are you carrying into this new concept of yourself? What are you bringing? What do you want from it? We'll start with Tracy.
Oh,
LA says we always start with her first.
Okay. What am I bringing into? I am bringing into the new, and because I do want to be married again. I love the institution of marriage. 3 words. I am bringing into a new me, a more open me, and God.
Okay. LA.
I am bringing into a new relationship transparency. Because I don't want to hide, and I don't want that person hiding. I just want to live in truth.
This is why I love you, girl. I love it. Olaf, what are you bringing? Besides our date to the movies.
Date to the movies. So it's like, well, it's like for me, I guess it would be, the transparency. Yeah, because I don't want to have no secrets. It's like I want to know. You don't know everything about me. I know everything about you. Would be all right.
Yeah.
And just stability.
Okay. I love it. Lammy and pajamas. What are you doing?
Oh, you guys don't want to hear what I have to say. Look, there's gonna be a lot of pumping. All right,
forgot
there'll be a
one.
lot of pumping. That's all I'm saying. It's been
Clarence Thomas.
look. The last time I had sex was 8 years ago when I was with my ex-wife.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and you know what? Absolutely. However, I've been entertained. All right, and so in other words, I espouse similar views like my homeboy Anthony. Extroverted introvert. Extroverted introvert.
All right. Well, praise
Peace.
the Lord. Anthony.
What am I bringing into the next one? Honestly, I have a consistent theme. My thoughts create my reality. So in my next relationship or my next marriage, it is up to me as, you know, the God on this earth to create the type of reality that I want. The physical manifestation of a being or the creator. I got the ability to do that. So that's what we're going to do.
They got a job
All
open
right.
for you at the UN, my brother.
Lamb. You want to time out. Andre. What are you bringing?
I'm bringing commitment to togetherness. That's
Hey
it.
now. Okay.
All right.
All right. So now we're gonna ask y'all where we can follow y'all on social media. We always start with the ladies. So LA, tell us what we can do to follow you, where we can find you. Tell us about your upcoming podcast. Kind of keep us in the know.
Okay. On Twitter, you can follow me at LA Wade 6. The 6 represents the T dot, Toronto. The 6. So LA Wade 6. And then on Instagram, this is LA Wade. I also have the Elephant Room TV on Instagram. And in terms of upcoming projects, in terms of upcoming projects, I will be doing a town hall at the University of Toronto on Friday, this Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. I hope to be able to get vocal, but it will also be on iLive Radio.
Eastern time.
Eastern time. That's right, Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be speaking on a spirituality panel at U of T on the 28th. There's a lot going on with LA, but I have to fill all of those places with what I was trying to fill with a man before. So,
Honey, you doing it. I applaud you. Hats off to you.
And every Sunday too. Definitely.
Every Sunday, we love to see your face.
Thank you.
And shout out to Boogie.
Yes, Boogie Down Productions.
Yes.
How can we get you on social media? Tell us what you got going on with your radio station and your show. Let the viewers know.
You can follow me at Tracy J. Caver on Facebook, also at Living Beneath the Shadow on Facebook, as well as Living Beneath the Shadow and Trey J54 on Instagram. I have Friday Chronicles on Facebook, which comes on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have Living Beneath the Shadow inspirational show on Also Smooth Radio on Tuesday mornings at 8, Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. That's Central Standard Time. I am in the process of writing my book, Living Beneath His Shadow, God and the Man of God, which I'm hoping to have put out by November of this year.
Okay, moving over to the men folk, kinfolk. Olaf, my brother, my friend, tell us how we can get you on social media and don't hurt nobody.
Okay. It's like, well, you can stalk me on both Facebook and Twitter at Olaf Barbosa, but as I always say, don't stalk too close because I do get nervous and I do have an itchy trigger finger.
Sound effect too. That's funny.
Love it. Love it so much. Lamb, how can we get you on social media?
You won't. You can't. It's never been done. I've never done it. I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do.
All right. Well, we'll pass all your questions that we
But
have.
you guys can have my phone number.
Okay. Post that in the chat room. For the people, they'll call you. Anthony, how can we get you on social media? Tell us what you got going on.
I got a lot going on, but I'm gonna condense it very shortly. So you can catch me at on Instagram, on Twitter, practically any social media platform that I'm on. The same name, Free for Real. That's FREE PHAREAL. I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to be, but I'm definitely on IG. So there's that. And also my other IG is Woodshed Pictures. That's where you can find some of my photography and videography work, director of photography, all that good stuff. So, I mean, this year I'm continuing on my certifications in the ways of the gun. So, I'm working to become a Georgia State licensed firearms instructor. So that's happening. I'm also I'm considering putting myself through the police academy to be a peace officer.
That's awesome.
I got to drop a little bit of bread for that though. So it's a consideration. But
you got an album coming out?
I do have an EP coming out. But that's going to be probably closer to my birthday, July 28th, Leo Season, Leo Nation, you know, all that good stuff. That's not what it's called.
Great photographer, great singer, top all stuff.
You know, me and Shannon, we can do background for your album. You know,
hey man, I'll give you a solo. You're gonna sing a solo, my guy.
I sing solo. I sing solo. Nobody can hear me.
Facts. That's it. You and Olaf is on the money right now. So, now I'm probably gonna build a couple more guns. I got a motorcycle just recently, so I'm excited about that because I'm trying to be a sex symbol this summer. You know. So,
all right, Anthony.
And I'm trying to buy a house this year, so it's a lot going on. So, yeah, you know what I mean.
All right,
Mr. Fancy Pants. Last but not least on the panel, Andre, tell us about your podcast and how we can follow you, family vlog, share.
All that stuff. All right, yeah, I put all the links in the sites in the chats. So this coming Thursday at 8 p.m., Rap with Dre, the Togetherness podcast, we'll be talking about filling up your spouse's love bank, all right, for a healthy withdrawal. All right, but you got to make deposits to get that withdrawal. All right. Also, so that's this Thursday on Get Vocal at 8 p.m. On Twitter, you can hit me up at Andre D Harrison. On Instagram, it's Andre_D_Harrison. And on YouTube, I have a family vlog with my kids. It's youtube.com/realitydadtv, or you can search Harrison Family Vlogs. That's me from Harrison Family Vlogs for those watching on YouTube. And I have a website for what I do when I help couples with their relationships. You can go to togethernesscoaching.com to get more information on that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Andre. Kente, Ferguson.
Real quick before we say goodbye, I want to give a shout out to Mike Williams in the chat room, and also LaPicean. I think I might have said him already. I know there's somebody else I'm leaving out. Please Steph. Oh yeah, of course, also Steph. I was trying to cover those who I didn't get. And then also in the Get Vocal, Danny is in there, as well as let's see who else is. Oh, Tracy's there too. Bobby and Herbie as well. They've been hanging out. They've been hanging out for a while now. And I want to say to everybody on this panel, and Audrey, who is no longer with us on the panel, and Narcissa as well. You know, I love, you know, their work. They're doing great things. So please make sure everybody that you give them support. You know, you check out what they're doing because they're doing some really big stuff. We have a group called the Podcasters and Streamers Alliance, where the idea of it is that we can post in that group to like-minded people, either people who listen to this kind of content as well as produce it. So if you're not a member of it, please let me know so I can make sure that you guys can become one. A lot of the people that you see that's in their chat rooms and whatnot, they're there. So you can post in there, let people know that your program is available. What I think I'm gonna do is make a schedule so everybody can see when everybody's thing is popping with links to it and all that good stuff. So but take advantage of it. It's a lot of people in there. And also, if you have need any advice on how to do any technical work with your podcast or your streaming show, there's all kind of experts in there who can help you. And some people are even so nice that they'll walk you through this stuff. So you know, and I do it as well. I'm here. I know Olaf is he helps out, as well as a lot of other people. So I just wanted to make sure. I guess I hadn't talked about it in a while, but I want to make sure people know that. All right, you can get me at Kente F on Twitter, And on Instagram, it's Kente Ferguson, Fergerson. And then also you can go to our website. It's called indyradio.org. That's INDY radio.org. And I'm going to reiterate this Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have the Elephant Room special town hall broadcast. It's going to be amazing. And she kind of downplayed it. This is going to be a big thing. So if you are available, check this out. You're going to want to see it. This is going to be a big thing. And I want you guys to participate. So if you're available, please check it out.
Thank you.
And Shannon, how can we get you?
For me, it's pretty simple. My name is the same across all platforms. Shannon Ford, like the president, Jefferson, like the president, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm also a published author, poetry, all of my books. There are 5. You can find them on Amazon.com. That's it for me, folks. Thank you, everyone, and all the other platforms, Get Vocal, Periscope, YouTube, for watching us, and we'll see y'all next week.
We're gonna be bugging out next week.
Yeah, so much fun.
Hey guys, it's not gonna be as deep, but it's gonna be fun.
Bye.
All right, thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Bye.